Hello, listeners. Welcome to this wonderful conversation I'm having with Dr. Pamela Eakins. My name is Cyndi Silva. I have invited Pamela to come and talk about her brilliant work, Tarot of the Spirit. With my intention was to really complement a class that I'm offering called Genetic Alchemy and the correlation between the tarot, the 10 powers of the universe, and the Human Design Body Graph and the Gene Keys Golden Path. Let me introduce you to Pamela Eakins, and then I'll have her come forward and talk about her wonderful work and the books that she has available. Dr. Eakins is a sociologist and visionary cosmologist. She is taught at Stanford University, the University of Colorado, California Institute of Integral Studies, and Pacific Center. Her books include Tarot of the Spirit, Kabbalah and Tarot of the Spirit, The Lightning Papers, Visionary Cosmology, Mothers in Transition, The American Way of Birth, Passages for a Spiritual Birth, Heart, Breath and Graceful Movement, Love Sonnets, Cosmic Interiors, and Priestess. Pamela founded the Directs Pacific Mystery School and Terra Nova Seminary, where she now teaches. Welcome, Pamela.
Oh, thank you, Cyndi. Thank you. Oh, my gosh, thank you.
Well,
I'm laughing a little bit at that long list of books that you just read. It's like, oh, my gosh, really? And is this relevant right now? I'll tell you, the 4 books that are relevant, which I call the Cosmic Quartet. That's my name for the books, the set of books, because they all are directly related to what you are doing. And those are Tarot of the Spirit and then Kabbalah and Tarot of the Spirit. Those two do not overlap very much. And then the Lightning Papers, 10 Powers of Evolution, which is also, it's a fictitious book. It's actually a novel, but it moves through the levels and layers that you are talking about. And then the last one is Visionary Cosmology, the New Paradigm. That is the one I would really highly recommend for people. It's really a short book. And it's short, but it's, in a sense, it's densely packed because it's got a lot of science in it. And I think the people that you're talking to, your audience, our audience right now, would really like that book, just so to narrow that down a little bit, Anyway, I'm happy to be with you, Cyndi. Yes.
No, I feel very fortunate to have you. You're one of my favorite teachers and such a prolific writer. I love picking up the book, Tarot of the Spirit. I have my deck always available and really love the imagery, the beautiful paintings that your mother created for the deck. And let me just share with our listeners that you can learn more about that at Pamela's website, tarotofthespirit.com, and also more about Pamela at pamelaeakins.net. On the screen right now, I'm showing, for those of you that are tuning into the replay on the Internet, we have the book Tarot of the Spirit, the Visionary Cosmology, the New Paradigm that Pamela just mentioned, as well as a cover of the Lightning Papers, the 10 Powers of Evolution. And that's really what we're holding space for today, is that conversation. And I see that there is a quote on the top of that Lightning Papers book by Brian Swim, and I just want to give a shout-out to that because I've also been tuning into his videos, the story of the universe.org, and really enjoying his perspective on the cosmic passage through into form, so how the universe becomes informed. And on this next image, I'm showing an image of the 8 of Fire called the Lightning Path, and this is one of the cards out of Pamela's deck. And I'd love for you just to share a little bit about this card, Pamela.
Okay, yes. Let me mention Brian Swim first, since you mentioned Brian. So Brian and I collaborated together for many years, and we developed together much of the work in the lightning papers, we also taught together, we taught classes together, and the visionary cosmology, the new paradigm, which is, it was actually a question about how much he was going to co-author some of this material with me. So, but I wound up doing the bulk of it. Anyway, so that's the story of Brian. We have a very close past. And then on to the 8 of Fire, the lightning path, which I'm just pulling out of my deck. I always have my deck sitting here. I can barely walk. I'm sitting in my office right now. I can barely walk past my deck without doing a reading. I work with the cards every single day for myself. And this card, the 8 of Fire, is is one of my very favorite cards. Maybe it's my favorite card, and probably for the same reasons you're referring to it right now, because this card illuminates the entire tree of life. Oh, let me say about this deck. Indeed, my mother painted these cards. We created this deck in the 80s, and when we began this deck, there were only 7 decks on the market, 7 tarot decks. It took us 7 years to do, unbelievable. It took us 7 years to do the deck. It's very in-depth. It's very advanced. And it's a Kabbalistic tarot deck, which means the entire deck is based on the tree of life in the Kabbalah. And this is what I want to tell you about this. Every single card in this deck is painted on a diagram of the tree of life. So you can see, and also the deck comes with an overlay, a transparent overlay of the tree of life. So you can put that overlay on top of any of the cards and see what is elucidated on the card. Also, the colors on the cards, every single color on the cards, they're all Kabbalistic colors. And so, so this is a very in-depth deck. And just to complete that thing about when we started, there were 7 tarot decks on the market, 7 years. By the time we finished with this project, there were 700 decks on the market, and probably now there are 7,000 decks on the market. So, so we thought, we kind of missed the boat here. We thought we were doing something that was pretty unique at the time, but it turns out the sensibility for creating these oracles, not just the tarot, but the runes, the I Ching, the medicine cards, everything was coming out at the same time for the inner journey, which is something that I know you are really interested in. This deep inward journey, because we realized this was a movement, it turns out, because we realized we did not have leadership, we did not have direction, we did not know where we were going, and eventually we came to understand, we are the ones we were looking for, we're the ones, we've got to make this happen, So we are using this material, all these oracular materials that became available to us as guides for our inner journey. So when we're looking at, and also the Tarot of the Spirit turned out to be, as it turns out, because it was an advanced deck, what happened was when people started going through the more basic decks, they would wind up finding ours, which was really great. So it has been around and in print for 25 years now with U.S. Games, and it's still as relevant today as it was when we created it, because it's based on the classic Tree of Life and Kabbalah, and because that morphs with each person who looks at it. So anyway, back to the 8 of Fire. So that's a long introduction to the 8 of Fire. But the 8 of Fire card, what you're seeing in that card is you're seeing all the different spheres of the Tree of Life illuminated, and you can see exactly how they fall on the card. And basically what that means is the 8 of Fire depicts the lightning path, the lightning flash, and what that is it's like when you're looking at a dark landscape and then suddenly the lightning comes and it illuminates. It comes all at once, and it illuminates the landscape so that you can see everything at the same time, and it all becomes very clear. And that's what this is. It's like you're walking around in darkness, and all of a sudden, here comes the lightning, and it connects all of the pieces, and you now see, oh, this is what it is. This is what it looks like. This is the entirety of the vision, all at the same time. And then it initiates very rapid movement, especially from a spiritual perspective, because it's a spiritual card. Fire is the suit of spirit, and 8 is the place of movement. It's symbolization and movement. Okay, so that's enough. I think about that card right now. But it's a lot. It's a lot, because this card symbolizes really the whole of the tree of life in one flash, one moment.
Thank you. I think you set us up beautifully for the conversation. It's like an epiphany where you see how all the parts fit as one whole instead of separate systems. They all come together as one. That's the beautiful thing that we're really integrating in this course that I'm offering. So thank you for bringing that home with this introduction.
That's great.
So I'm going to be sharing the slide that has a list of the 10 powers of the universe and the lightning path based on just little definitions. I know you can't see the screen, so Pamela, I'll read to you what I have, so it's what the listeners and the viewers are seeing, and then I'll have you comment on that, each sphere. Does that work for you? Would that be a good way to
absolutely.
Okay.
Excellent.
So at the top sphere, number 1, we have centration, and it says, you are the center of the universe, birthing a new creation.
Okay. So this, of course, this relates to all the ones in the tarot. That is the place all the ones fit. So 1 is a new beginning. So we can just look at we'll look at the first level of this, talk about the top level, which is just an entry point, because you can go deeper and deeper and deeper with this material. But in that place of the 1, this is the place of that moment of awakening as an individual living being on the path of free will. It's the place of I am. It's the first point in the recognition of an individual existence. And I'll just say about that, what is so amazing about individual existence is that our universe, we start to become very scientific about this, because our universe, this universe that we live in, specializes in individuality, which is amazing. It's this individual, the creation of individuals. We're talking about, let's say, individual, if you look at a field of flowers, maybe they all look the same, but they're not. Each one is an individual with its own path. Each tree, each planet, such as the planet Earth, is completely individual. There may be other planets that are similar to Earth, but they're not Earth. Our solar system, our sun, very individual star. So it goes on and on through the universe the bigger we get. Each galaxy is individual. And then, now we've learned, and this is so amazing, that we used to think that atoms, for example, were basically clones of one another. And now we know that as far down as we can go in terms of small spaces, like, say, what we consider a small space to be an atom, is actually an individual universe unto itself, because there are smaller and smaller particles popping forth inside that atom, that the better our tools are, the more we can see them. So as it turns out, each atom is its own individual universe, and no two atoms are the same. So I'm making a case for this thing we're calling centration. I always call it, centration means that the whole of the universe is focusing, or maybe not the whole of the universe, but an aspect of the field of the universe is focusing on bringing forth a singular individual creation. That's where it starts. So that would be you as a singular being. I also call that space, so I'll use the term centration sometimes, and I also call it original being. And here is the place of origination. 3 notes on origination. Origination means each individual is original, okay? And that means that the universe from the very beginning has been combining and recombining ingredients and energies to create this individual. So this individual comes from the origin. Everything is in a state of, it's in a process. It's a process. And so here is this original being who comes from the origin. Secondly, the original being is unique in every way. I mean, not in every way, because we all share, for example, as humans on the planet Earth, we all share a significant portion of Earth's DNA. But there's a place where our DNA differentiates, and no 2 individuals are the same or ever have been, period. Mm-hmm. So we are original, and there's a major reason for that in terms of the evolution of the universe. And then the next point is we also originate. We are original, and we originate basically everything that happens, the future. We are original beings. So there are these 3 aspects of origination that are really important, because here's the bottom line, Cyndi. This is the most important part. This power, you might call it, of the universe, this number 1, the first power, this is alive inside of us because we are the universe. And that is the big breakthrough. The universe is not out there someplace. It doesn't exist out there. We are the universe blossoming, rising out of its own being, and we contain all the powers of the universe. And I know that's where you're going with this, or I feel that's where you're going with this. You know, we are living universe on the path of free will, which is very profound, because this is not what we've been, it's not what our culture has been working with for a long time. This is something that is being introduced into our culture right now. Here's the other thing that I want to mention about that. Being that original centrated being, we are also right in this exact moment, state-of-the-art creation. We are the state-of-the-art universe in the present moment. This is the cutting edge right now of universal evolution, and we are alive inside of it. Every single person listening to this, you and me and every person, here we are. We're right at the cutting edge of evolution. So that's something about that centration. So critical, so important to understand. It's like, yes, you're it, I'm it, we're it.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Yeah, I feel my body just teeming with excitement hearing your words and the recognition of a knowing inside that wants to come from a subconscious level into a conscious level and be played out in a experiment. So I'm really happy that we're getting to bring this forward and share it with others who are also attracted to this. So that brings up our second sphere of allurement, and the definition here is gravitational bond and attraction, what you are attracted
mm-hmm.
to and why. Get curious,
mm-hmm.
because it's a mystery why each of us are attracted to what we're attracted to, and it's all so unique. Really
mm-hmm.
reflecting on what you said about original.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I like what you said about experiment, because we are the experiment of the universe. We are the universe experimenting with itself. We are the universe with the eyes to see itself, the ears to hear itself, and to reflect upon its own journey. So when we are born, first I want to say another, something else about this. Here's another reason this is so important, what you're doing and what we're doing. It's because what we are in the business of doing is entering into a new story, creating a new story for ourselves and a new story for our species, because we live by stories. That's what we do. We are bringing forth a story that describes ourselves in a new way, a different way, a way we have not known ourselves, it's actually a new paradigm. And the paradigm moves us out of a place of alienation into a place of belonging. And the alienation comes from the idea of believing that the universe is out there somewhere and we're strangers here and we don't belong. Very common feeling. And we wind up with a sense of disconnect. Like, what am I doing here? What am I doing in this family? What am I doing in this country? What am I doing in this school? Whatever it is. And what we learn is, whoa, you are absolutely meant to be here. And let me just say, in my book, Visionary Cosmology, I outline the two paradigms side by side. So you can see, here is the paradigm that goes with the old paradigm of industrial mind that we have been living by in our culture. And so in industrial mind, so I called it industrial mind and synergistic mind. I call the new paradigm synergistic mind. So with industrial mind, the idea of centration, the definition of self in centration is the universe is out there, I'm a stranger here, I'm alone, I'm isolated, I'm alienated. In synergistic mind, and that's when we see how the whole thing fits together. It shifts into, I belong here. I am made of universe. I am universe evolving. That's what it's about. Okay, and then we go to number 2, right? Okay, and I feel like it's okay to spend more time here in the beginning. Because you can really see, if you get the idea that the beginning of this signals the paradigm shift. This is the paradigm shift. This is what we've been looking for, right? And here we are in the paradigm shift. So now we go into
I want to just add a little piece here that before I lose it, because it was really just something lit up when you said synergistic mind, and where it reminds me of the lightning flash and the 8 of fire, is that maybe that is the awakening of the synergistic mind, where we see how everything fits and we move from the alternative, what you just described as feeling that we don't belong here, and then the lightning flash comes and it awakens that synergistic mind, and we see the vision, and then we can start allowing that which is creating through us to have greater bandwidth to be a self-reflecting consciousness vehicle.
Right. And it isn't even just creating through us. We are it. We are it. This is a complete redefinition of who we thought we were. We are the universe. It's not as if there's some force or power that is moving us. We're it. And we contain the powers, and we are, my feeling, Cyndi, is if we only did this one, like the first power, and we, you and I mean, and then we really got into that and understood it, everything else would fall into place. It's just that powerful. But just going to the number 2, which I call attraction. Okay, so but I have different names that I use, but let's use the term attraction right now because that is the most commonly used idea. Okay, so we're born with we're born as an individual, and then secondly, being born as an individual, we are born with attractions. We come in with specific attractions. And there's a reason for that too. So we not only come in with these attractions, but we also were predisposed to be attracted to just various things in this life that create our aspirations, basically. And so if we follow our attractions and we move forward with our attractions, we are honoring what the universe within is wanting to do. So this has to do with our aspirations. So if we look at the culture that we primarily live within, which is industrial consciousness, in general, our desires and the things that we want are based on insecurities and fears and a need for belonging, which grows out of the idea that we don't belong here. But with the synergistic consciousness, which is exemplified by the 8 of Fire here, we move into a space of recognition of and taking responsibility for our innate cosmological gifts, our gifts. And that is how the universe begins to unfold. And also I'll say about the 2 here, the space of the 2, the second sphere, is that this place is also considered to be a male sphere. And male means moving outward. It's charged with energy, and it's an emitting force. And I love that because right at the top of the tree of life, we have the 1, which is the individual nature, and also has some other layers with it that we're not going to talk about today. But then we have the 2, which is the male and movement aspect caused by whatever it is we may be drawn toward, or what is calling us. That's the allurement part. It's what is calling us. And one of the secrets is that to which you are drawn has been calling you from the beginning. It's a mystery. It's one of these incredible mysteries, right? And basically what we're called into is the 3rd sphere. Whatever is going to be existing in the 3rd sphere, which is female, that is the female aspect of ourselves that is open to receive. So we have this emission and reception, but all those things work together, the 1, 2, and 3. And that 1, 2, and 3, that triangle of 1, 2, and 3, which is individual, you might call it, and then male and female aspects of ourselves working together, create basically our cosmological worldview, who we are and what we're drawn to and what we're receiving. And then it's going to come into, in the number 3, I'm leaping ahead a little bit, but it's going to come into what are we giving birth to? Because we're the universe giving birth to itself, essentially, to its own future. So I leapt ahead without, but I'd like to hear, what you have, your introduction on the number 3.
Yes. What's listed, it says emergence, an ongoing creative event coming from within the attraction.
Right. Okay, and so again, I use various words for these, and the word that I'm using right now that I really like is creation for number 3. So creation is about our imagination and what we're going to bring forward in our imagination. And so, basically in the industrial consciousness, because I'm thinking about these 2 paradigms side by side, because what I really want is for us to move into this new paradigm, this new form of consciousness, which is so beautifully connected with the tree of life and the tarot. The tarot can just carry us right into it. So in this industrial mind, in the 3rd space, we imagine and create a world that rewards individual achievement basically at any price. Now, this is in the long run. We're seeing this does not work. This is not something that's going to work for us. In synergistic mind, we imagine and create an integrated, integral world that cherishes and sustains and celebrates diversity. This is what we want to bring forward when we look at the whole synergy and how it all fits together. And this has to do with all of our everything that is out of place. Oh my gosh, gender issues, race issues, global warming, war, all of it. We want to bring forward, we need to. The universe wants to bring forward a new kind of world, basically with a new paradigm. And I don't know if I'm going to talk about the new paradigm right now anymore, because I know our time is limited and I know you want to go through the rest of these. But I think if we just have that 1, 2, and 3 as our foundation, maybe we can go a little bit more quickly through the rest. And I think everybody knows, but I'll just mention, the 3 is going to be corresponding to all the 3s in the tarot, the 4 3s in the different suits. In our deck, it's called the fire, the water, the wind, and the earth. The 2 corresponds to the 2s. The 3 also corresponds to the feminine. So all of the female aspects are going to be contained, are going to have something to do with that sphere number 3. All of the mothers or the queens are going to live in or around that sphere. And then in the 2, if we back up to the 2, that's the male. So we're going to have all of in our deck, it's the fathers living in or around that sphere as well. So we're not talking about the other cards right now, but there are other cards that are going to be correlating to those spheres as well. Yeah. This is a lot.
Beautiful. Thank you for
I'm aware.
It is a lot. I know.
I am very aware of how deep this is. Yeah.
It's not easy to contain the universe. I mean, the limitation of time that you mentioned, it makes me aware that the universe has to work within limitation to experience itself. It's physical, right? Like that's
right.
The whole process of like it looks to me like an involutionary path, as instead of an evolutionary, which is the physical evolving towards more light and expansion, where this involutionary path is the universe, this huge, vast formlessness becoming itself a physical experience and dawning in awareness as we move through these spheres. So this 4th sphere that I've listed here is homeostasis. The memory to retain has been gained and built upon.
Yeah, I see you're using Brian's terms here. So this is
I am,
and then I have to translate each one of them, because those aren't the terms that I use, but I recognize that you're using his terms. So
I am.
I'm going to change it. I'm going to call number 4 stabilization. And so I'll talk about 4 and 5 together, and that'll make it a little bit easier to move through. So number 4 is stabilization, okay? And stabilization is where we evolve secure systems to protect essentially whatever it is we have given birth to. So we're going to work to stabilize the things that are worth stabilizing and the things that we really care about. But even in the best of situations, that stabilization can get disrupted. So then we have the number 5. And 5 is the place of cataclysm. 5 is the place of disruption. 5 is the place of destruction, of things falling apart. It's the place of catabolism, breaking down, where 4 is building up. But those two things are always going to be working together, the building up. Those are the 4 4s, is the building up and the stabilizing and the securing. And then something comes in sideways, because this is the nature of the universe, and then breaks it down. Or sometimes we want to break it down because it becomes too rigid, too oppressive. Anything can happen. And then a thing that we haven't talked about is, for example, between the 4 and the 5 is a path of a major arcana card. The major arcana cards move between all of these different spheres. So that major arcana card, by the way, between the 4 and the 5, which I think is interesting, is the path of strength. That's the number 8, the path of strength. So, and strength isn't all in being inside the 4 energy or being inside the 5 energy. Strength is using all our intuition, moving between, are we building up or are we taking down? Because we need equal parts of that. Too much of a buildup creates cancer, for example. You know, so we need a breakdown. We need the balance between the two, between the 4 and the 5. So those two we can look at as a kind of a pairing. They're sort of a pairing on the tree.
Yeah, they're like then, another level of the 2 and 3, the yin and yang in a different form.
Definitely, right. That strength between the two of them is called one of the girders of the tree. It holds up the tree of life. And we have the same type of thing happening between the 2 and the 3, and then the 7 and the 8. You know, when you look at the 8 of fire, you can see those 3 girders going across, holding up the tree, holding the tree together. Yeah. So, and then it moves into, is it okay if I just move into the 6?
Yes.
Because I'm just thinking about, in the interest of time here. So 4, 5, and 6, just like 1, 2, and 3, is a major triangle, they call it, of the tree of life. 4, 5, and 6 is another triangle, because 4 and 5 are then mediated by the 6. So 6 is the mediating intelligence. By the way, all of these spheres have an intelligence associated with them. There are many, many correspondences that go along with these spheres. But 6, which you don't see the 6 well illuminated on the particular card, the 8 of fire, because where it is it's halfway between the number 5 and the number 7 sphere. So it's in the very middle of the tree of life, on the middle pillar, which on the 8 of fire we're seeing it as the blue pillar that goes down the middle of the card. So the 6 is on that pillar, and the 6 is actually the key to all of it, because the 6 is synergy. That's where synergy lives, is right in the 6. And synergy is holding all of the spheres and then working with those, integrating all of the different aspects and knowing what parts are right for us, which ones we're working with. The 6 is where we determine, yes, this is the piece that I will be working with. And the 6 is the place of higher awareness, enlightenment, truth, beauty, everything. And it is like if the 4, 5, and 6 work together, the 6 is kind of like a fulcrum that holds all the energies of 4 in one hand, you might say, and all the energies of 5 in the other hand, and then draws on them as needed. But we want to basically live in the place of the 6. We want to live in the place of those 4 6s. Those 4 6s in the tarot would be the 6 of fire is a place of having been through the battles in our lives, growing up out of the battlefield, and then with the realization of these fruits of the battle, what we have learned, and then making our offering into the world. Making our offering is what the 6 of fire is about. 6 of water is about living in faith, knowing it's all going to be okay. And the 6 of wind, which is a mental place or a place of consciousness, is about living in a state of clarity. Yes, I am clear. I understand what's happening. And then the 6 of earth, these are cumulative too, fire, water, air, and earth, because earth contains the fire, the water, and the air, spirit, heart, and mind. So in the earth is a place of beauty. It's the beauty way, the 6 of earth. Beauty before me, behind me, above me, below me, all around me, inside me. May I walk in beauty. And those are the 4 6s, and that is the place we want to live from, and what we want to balance the 4 and the 5 energies with. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely, yes. It reminds me of the magnetic monopole in the human design system. It's the knowing who you are and where you're going in life. It's this just being in alignment with truth and your position amongst the whole, your relatedness to the whole. So beautiful.
Right.
Yeah. And the 7, the transmutation, I'm also really tracking as you're speaking, like that this path is something that we can recognize also in anything that we're creating goes through a process like that. If we're bringing a product into the world or an idea or writing a book, it'll go through this process of where things come together, fall apart, in different levels before they get perfected and ready to be recognized. And the timing is really important because, as you mentioned, when you brought this work out in the 80s, your deck and everything was on that leading edge. And now it feels like more people are ready for it. And what's beautiful about your work is that it's had all this gestation time and it's been seeded, and it comes from an ancient the origins and the mystical origins, and I just feel like it has such a deep, deep root that it's stabilizing, where some of the others that aren't as integrated can have their value and bring insights, but this, it's psychoactive. I don't know how that lands for you, but that's been my experience.
Thank you. Yes, I mean, for me it is psychoactive as well, and that is certainly, that's one of the words that we used early on in describing it. Actually, I forgot about that word. Psychoactive is was part of the creation. And so, and it's a perfect segue into the 7, because so now we're using the term transmutation. Okay, Brian and I developed these terms together, all those terms that you're talking about. And then what happened is both of us have veered into other dimensions of, okay, what is the essence of these powers? So we were bringing those forward, and then we have gone far deeper, I think. Actually, I'm not sure how he's using them right now, but I know that I have spent the last, because when were these terms developed? You know, we're talking about 2003, 2004, you know, for the terms that you have up on the screen. Okay, so now I've moved quite far beyond some of those things. But transmutation is a word that I love. That was one of the words that we were developing back in the day. And so transmutation is about, that's the number 7. And in that sphere is about going deeper, because if we're going to get out, sometimes we can move back and forth between the 4 and the 5, the way they're linked. You know, the 4 is that stabilization, and the 5 is the disruption and the cataclysm. And we can just go back and forth. You know, things get disrupted, so now we're going to stabilize them. Then they get disrupted again, and now we're going to stabilize them. And we just keep moving back and forth. But the 7, what the 7 is that is seeking new information. So when we move into the 7 energy, that's where we're moving into the energy of the vision, what I call the vision quest. It's like we need to seek new information, metaphorically or really. You know, we are going to go on a vision quest and find information, new information to put into the equation, whatever the equation is that we're working on. And eventually what is going to happen is once we understand what we are looking for, well, I will say that here, I'll bring in the 8, because the 8 is the place where we get it, where we get what we are seeking. We finally understand. And I'll give you an example of that. So let's say at the 7 energy is where the Buddha is walking in the world and sees pain, suffering, old age, and death and doesn't understand it and says, okay, I'm going to sit under this tree until I get why this is, and I'm not leaving until I do, period. That's the 7 energy. And then he sits under the tree and comes to a deep understanding, and 49 days later, aha, okay, I get it. Whoa, whoa, whoa. And he touches the earth. As earth is my witness, I get it now. I understand. I absolutely get it. He gets up and walks away, and someone says to him, oh, what happened? What happened? What happened? He says, I woke up. That's it. I woke up. I get it. And so it's the minute of awakening is the 8. And the 8 is the place I call symbolization. That is where we can name it. We can name what happened. And the minute we can name that new level of energy, see, today in this conversation, that's what we're doing. We're naming new kinds of energies. The minute we name them, they can fly out and seed the field. We haven't even talked about the field. The field is the field is the whole universe that is underlying the emergence of the one. And so part of what we're doing here, what you and I, and then also the people who are listening, is we are creating the field. We're not only creating ourselves, but we're seeding the field. So between that number 7 and the number 8, the transmutation, the aha awakening, and moving into the 8, the naming it, and we're looking at part of what we're looking at here is the 8 of fire still, it's sort of floating the 8 of fire on the table, so to speak, that's an 8 card. It's a spirit card because fire is spirit. So this is like spiritually understanding how the whole thing fits together and being able to name it in the 8 of fire. It's like, yes, I get it. As earth is my witness, I see how it all fits together. So that's the 7 and the 8. And 7, 8, and 9 create the third triangle.
It's a new vision, then.
New vision. It's a new vision. So the 8 is the new vision. And this applies on many, many, many levels. Okay, so, yeah. And so what we want to do is we want to come up with new patterns and new symbols. Well, we can create symbols out of what we are learning in the 7, and we can, what I call, lob the symbols into the field. For me, that's what writing is about. I call it lobbing fireballs into the field, because, we can symbolize it with a word or with a picture or something like that, what it is we want to bring forward, and then we put it in the field. Okay, so then the 7, 8, and 9, 7, 8, and 9 are the third triangle. And so those 3 also work together, the 7 being the vision quest, the 8 being the naming of what has happened. And then the 9 is the place of absorption, where all of it moves into the deep subconscious of ourselves and the collective, and where it all becomes absorbed. And then just leaping into the 10, right now I'm calling it the power of radiance. And in the 10 is where we are radiating everything that we've learned on that path of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then 10, we are radiating it out, and we are walking that path on the earth, on the planet. So 10 is the culmination of all our sensibilities. So whatever we're pouring into ourselves, wherever we're putting our attention, that goes all the way back to the 2, whatever we're giving birth to, all of that is what we are radiating into the world with the 10. So this is the 10 powers, and right now I'm calling the 10th power radiance. But, I have lots of different names that I use for these 10 powers. They're not carved in stone, the names of them. Like in the number 3, I have a number of words that I use. One of them I like is Genesis. It's like, what are we going to generate? What are we going to bring forward? What is going to be the next layer? So, and it's not necessarily all linear, that it goes through the process 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, because, all the time, many things are happening, and they're feeding in. There are many variables. And so once we learn this system, then we can leap around in it. That's like doing a tarot reading or something like that. You would be wielding the system, but it happens in everyday life where we're constantly wielding the system in the different aspects of this system. So, okay, so there we go. It's like those are basically the 10 powers, the 10 powers of the Tree of Life, 10 powers of the tarot, in the 1 through 10. And then there's going to be a relationship with the major arcana, but this is a little bit too much to talk about right now. But there will be a relationship between the number 1 and then the number 1 in the major arcana as well, which that's the magus or the magician, and so on. So there is a relationship, but we're going to, unfortunately, we'll have to say that for another time. But I think getting the 10 powers.
Definitely invite you back.
Yeah,
I would love to say something. You are on fire, girl. So I wanted to say something about the 10th sphere and the Earth Sister, because that really is the vessel for the completion here of the perfected form that houses the universe, and there's no accident that you've chosen this image for the cover of your book. So I'd love to have you say a few things about the Earth Sister and the 10th sphere.
Great. Okay. So to reiterate, and so I can complete this idea for everybody, the fathers live in or around the number 2, place of attraction and movement. The mothers live in or around the 3, which is the place of birthing the universe, basically receiving and then birthing the universe. The brothers live in and around the 6, which is enlightened consciousness. That's a thought process. And then the sisters live in or around the 10, all 4 sisters. And I mentioned this before, but these suits are cumulative: fire, water, air, and earth, because earth, which is manifestation, must contain the other 3, which is the spirit, the heart, and the mind. It's the energy, the emotions, and then the consciousness, and it's all contained in the place of manifestation, which is the earth. So the Earth Sister is the power of manifestation containing the spirit, heart, and mind in all 10 powers, right? So you see how she contains all 10 powers, and she contains, in a certain sense, all the other sisters, which would be, fire sister, water sister, and wind sister. Okay, so Earth Sister is you and me basically walking this path on the planet. And when we look at the Earth Sister card, we see that she is she's pregnant. She's pregnant with herself. She's pregnant with the future. She, having been through all these 10 powers and understanding all these 10 powers and how they manifest, she has been through what we call all the levels of the, quote, minor initiations. And they're not minor either. That's really sort of a misnomer, because they're huge initiations. She has already passed through so many initiations that now she is ready. She's on her feet, and she is ready to face anything that comes up. She is ready to go. She is consciousness in fruition. She is spirituality in fruition. She is relationship and caring in fruition. And everything is working together. And she is walking this path as the living, completed, in a certain sense, being. Although we're never complete it's never a done deal because we're continually learning. But she is one who is open and ready and good to go for the continual learning process. And really, it's as I said, you're her. You are Earth Sister. You know, we are Earth Sister walking on this planet. Yes. Mm-hmm. And you're right. You're right, Cyndi. I'm on fire with all this. I mean, we could go for hours. You know. I mean, I'm totally on fire with this. I love this material. There's so much. Oh my gosh, it's just so juicy. There's a word I haven't used for a long time, but there's just so much juice in it, and it's so exciting to to get into this place where we're actually shifting our whole consciousness for the future of this planet, for the future of this country. Because I'm an activist, and it's like, yes, we are definitely shifting our consciousness into a new direction as Earth Sister. So there we go.
Yes, and it's good to have an informed activist. That makes a huge difference. And informed, in this case, being, the whole universe informed within your form. It's just a beautiful platform to come from to understand the whole picture. And I did pull one quote out of the book of the Earth Sister section. It says, "She is an innovator, but she has moved through the systems and understands firsthand its limits. Therefore, she is qualified." So I wanted to know if you would comment on this, understand its limits, and how that makes her qualified.
That's interesting because that is not a quote, that I have thought about for a while. But, okay, so she is not going to allow herself to become contained by images of limitation, and some settings might limit her ability to become the totality of who she really is, who she actually is. So if we go back to, just for a moment, in industrial mind, so if we go back to the power of radiance, number 10, in industrial mind, what winds up happening in the industrial mindset, industrial consciousness, is that when we feel alienated, when we feel insecure, when in the number 4 in that place, we would be protecting our belongings and things like that. That would be the stability. The 5 would be fear, like fear that somebody's going to get us. That's where the violence and war comes from. And then with the transmutation, instead of seeking this, like the huge vision quest, what happens with transmutation in the industrial mind is we numb out, we escape with substances. Instead of going on a vision quest, we play video games and things like that. Okay, so, and then what winds up happening in the end, what we're taking in is a dimmed down version of ourselves. And then in radiance, the power of radiance number 10, we wind up living a dimmed down life with the potential feeling of alienation. And so, and this can happen to the one who would be the Earth Sister in all her power, because in the synergistic mind, what happens with the Earth Sister in her power in number 10, she is radiating cosmological beauty. She experiences herself as having an efficacious, effective participation in human culture and destiny, and she is working within the greater cosmological community. And she has an inalienable sense of belonging. Okay, but I just want to say one more thing about this. Like, personally, when you read the quote, I had a personal hit on it, which was, I thought of some of the limitations I experienced in the university system. Because within the university, the languaging and so on wasn't anywhere near what we're talking about here right now. I mean, not anywhere near. Okay, so there are limitations within that system. I mean, it's okay that they're there. there are limitations formed by doing, like I've been a researcher, so with your research, your scientific research, you have to set up your research projects in certain ways and everything. But we're using a language, when we do that, we're using a language that is, by its nature, it's very limiting. And what we're talking about here with the freeing of the Earth Sister is the recognition of herself as a free being, that she is free. We are free. We will accept no images of limitation, an image of a limitation that is presented to us. We are of sound mind. We are mentally healthy, and therefore we are going to move forward into the fullness of our power in terms of evolution, and we are going to bring that forth in the space of the totality of our empowerment walking on this earth. That is the promise. That's the promise, and that is the life that I now live. And some other time, I will tell you about how I moved from there to here, and what it means to become completely activated as the Earth Sister. Yes.
Oh, beautiful. So it's very, very eloquent in the way that it streams through you, this transmission of beauty and grace and the majesty of movement that I see in this image with this beautiful vessel that houses the cosmic revolution, which is what I want to share with everybody. If you haven't watched the Cosmic Revolution on YouTube, it's a video that one of Pamela's students put together that's such a beautiful encapsulation of her contribution to humanity and our perspective of the truth of our totality. It's just so beautifully done, and I want to put a shout out to look that up on YouTube. And also it's on Pamela's websites that I mentioned before. A couple other things you mentioned here, and I know we're wrapping this up, but I can't help but share. When you said that you encountered limitations in the university system and they were related to language, I'm just wanting to echo that in my experience. And the reason I pulled this quote of all the quotes on Earth Sister forward is because the innovator is someone who can go beyond, and it's this quality of transcending and including, so you can be part of a system and transcend the limitations of that system, but include what you learned. I mean, there's so much that you learned from the experience of being in university and gain that you wouldn't transcend and reject everything. You would include the usefulness and then integrate the new vision and the new awareness. And the piece that I'm bringing in, and my intention for sharing all this, was to help my students see that the system of human design we're working with as one component of genetic alchemy is like the lightning flash, where we see how everything fits together, where the I Ching, astrology, Kabbalah, the Tree of Life, the chakra system, they're not all separate systems. They're all intricate and connected. And so we see that, and we go and we study the system, but yet we encounter limitations in the languaging. And so we start to integrate other tools like the gene keys, which has a golden path that resembles the lightning path, and that system brought in a whole nother level of language that expanded the bandwidth and created different dimensions of experience within this path. And the piece that I'm doing when I'm listening to people in private sessions is I'm tuning into the language, and that tells me where the limitation is and where they're operating out of their genetics, and how if we can get them exposed to another level of language in a frequency bandwidth, that they can transcend the limitation but include what they've gained through moving through that frequency. And so I feel like what's been coming through in this conversation has really been supporting both our experiences as Earth Sisters. We're both Wind Sisters on the calendar, but I feel like my journey has been a journey of really being comfortable as a Wind Sister, the intellectual consciousness and the visionary piece, but learning how to embody the whole as an Earth Sister and really ground it and make it useful and practical. And you've really helped us do that today. And the only thing we didn't get to, which I'd love to, and we'll do it another time because I would never want to try to squeeze in the beautiful story you have about crossing the threshold from academia into this path that you're now on, and the encounter you had would be something very lovely for people to hear. And when that opportunity comes, I'll make sure to let everybody know. And I want to thank you again for your time, Pamela.
Thank you so much, Cyndi. Thank you so much. Just thoroughly enjoyed it. Absolutely.
Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for hanging in there with us. We went a little longer than we thought, but we appreciate your time, and I know that it was worth it. I can feel the energy already echoing out, and yeah. Okay, dear sister. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye for now.
Bye-bye, everyone.